A couple of things to note over here. This radio right here is your VHF radio. So the other radios are UHF. That's what we communicate with, you know, dispatch, our PD flight channel and the med channels. This radio is our VHF radio, and to turn it on, you press the power button here, and that turns the radio on. And then there are a number of channels on there. 155, 205, which is listed. You can turn the channel by switching this knob here, and you'll notice 205. That's ambulance. That's the, you know, national ambulance to ambulance channel. So any ambulance in the United States is supposed to have that channel, and you can switch back and forth between them. The 155 340 channel is what they call the HEAR station, and every hospital in the United States is supposed to have what they call HEAR capability. Okay, so if for some reason you need to speak to a hospital, then you can switch over to the HEAR channel, and you can talk to any hospitals. If, for instance, you know, you're out of range of Medcom or what have you, then you have that capability. The other thing that's important about this radio is it's a communication with the hospital wing. So if for some reason you're either doing a PR event or you have a patient that, you know, that was in the air and you're going to transport them the remainder by ground, or if they were going by ground and you need to switch to, you know, air transport, then you can communicate with the aircraft by switching this radio to 340 and communicating directly with that aircraft from there. The inverter switch, like we talked about before, is controlled. The master is outside, and then there's also this switch on the inside. If the one outside is set off, then this one won't work at all. The one outside is set on, but this switch is set off, then nothing on the inside will work. The other thing that's important is the red module disconnect button in the front. If that switch is set off, nothing in the back works. So you have to have the red module disconnect on. The master inverter switch outside that should never be turned off has to be on. Then this inverter switch should be on. And we never turn our inverter off, because remember, the refrigerator that controls your meds is running on electrical power, and if you turn that switch off, then you lose your electrical power and your meds are not cold. Next to that, you have your dome lights. It's a biphase switch so that you have high and you have low. On the bench seat, you have high and you have low. And then next to that, you have the suction control. What's important to note about this control, you turn the master suction on, and then you have the suction control here. You'll notice when I turn that off that the suction unit is stressing. You really need to make sure that when you turn the suction on the panel, that you release the flow of suction on the master suction unit. Okay? You can set suction to continuous, or you can set for intermittent suction, and then you can control the quantity of suction that you want there. Okay? And then to turn the suction off, you just flip the switch over here. Next to that are the vent fans, which are located in the back here. And that has also a high and a low switch, and you'll notice that now the vents are closed, but you can adjust the vent to open and closed. If you have somebody with gangrene or any other smelling condition, you can use that to help ventilate help clear the air. The other thing that's important to note about the truck is this switch up here, which is the fresh air switch, which is very important for those that get sick. If you pull this switch out, then what that does is that allows fresh air to pump through the AC system and runs it through the back of the truck. So if you want to, you know, kind of refresh the air in the truck, then you pull for fresh air, turn the vent fan on, and that will circulate air through the truck. The other thing is the fluorescent lights, which you'll notice above you. That gives you good lighting to the stretcher. And then we have two spare switches. We also have 12-volt capability back in the back, and then we have a power, 120-volt power, located through, you know, in various intervals throughout. We also have one in this cabinet here to power the suction unit, and then there's a power strip that sits behind the refrigerator to give you some extra power outlets. Sitting on the console here, we have the glucometer. And just remember, you have to run controls on the glucometer every 24 hours. And our policy for downloading the glucometers is you do not have to download a glucometer unless you do a patient test, but our lab department has asked that you download them if possible at least once a week just to kind of clear them out. What you'll notice is eventually you'll get so many controls stored in there that the memory will be full, and so if you don't download them when you go to do an actual test, the memory will be full and you can't do it. So we found that if you download it once a week, that gives you plenty of room in the memory, and it also gives the lab the information they need without having to every day run in and out with the glucometer. What we've asked is just when you get to the emergency department, there's download stations there. If you just carry the glucometer there, when you get there, it takes 10 seconds or less, pop it on, let it download, and then you can put it back on the truck. Both oxygen and medical air are located up front here. Remember, they have to be turned on at the tank, and then they're controllable here. We also have oxygen and air connections in the ceiling, both in the front and in the back of the ambulance. And we have another one right next to the exit door on the side of the ambulance. We have both oxygen and air. And then finally on Bonheur 2, we do not have this on the first ambulance, but on Bonheur 2 we have an oxygen connection in the ventilator box that sits right next to the captain's chair. In order to control the temperature in the back of the ambulance, we actually have two heating and air units. One of them is for while the engine is running, and then the other one is for when you're running on shore power. Okay? This unit here is for while the engine is running, and what you do is you start by pressing cool or heat, and then you adjust your temperature to wherever you want it to be. You can also adjust the fan speed with the fan selection, and in this truck the selections are almost instantaneous. In the other truck there's a relay switch that takes 2 or 3 seconds, so when you punch a button, don't expect an immediate response, but it will come on. Okay. The other thing that's important is just because you set for a temperature of 84 degrees, that does not necessarily mean that the air unit in the truck is going to be able to maintain 84 degrees. So some people get concerned that things are not working, especially in the summer when it's 100 and something degrees outside and the truck won't cool below 80. And if it's that, if we're getting 20 to 30 degrees of cooling in the truck, then that's generally good to go. Next to this unit is the shore power unit, and you really should not have to touch that unit. It remains on all the time, and management will come out here as the temperature changes. We'll adjust it from heat to cool and set it. This unit will help to maintain the temperature in the ambulance and provide some level of circulation, but it definitely does not maintain a comfortable operating temperature. It will keep the ambulance from freezing in the winter. It will keep it from roasting in the summer, but it will not run at 70 degrees year round.